Okay, so in this video, we're going to go through the Zdepth exercise. So go ahead and download the Smurf file. So when you open up the Smurf file, you're going to have like two camera. So one is the perspective camera, and the other one will be the camera one. Okay, so make sure you look through the camera one, okay, not the perspective. So this is what you're going to get if you look from the camera one. Okay, so again, we want to smooth everything, so I'm pressing 3 in my keyboard. Now, for the Zdepth to be able to work, you need to have mask layer. So go ahead and render the mask layer. So this is what I'm going to get from rendering my mask layer. Okay, so as you can see, this is set from camera 1. Okay, now again, for the Zdepth to be able to be working, you need to use the AOV. Okay, so you're gonna go to render setting and then right shift, right, and you're gonna click AOV. Okay, so AOV is different from render layer, right? So people usually refer AOV to render passes. Okay, so AOV stands for arbitrary output variables. Okay, so this is the place where we can do a lot of things to export. Okay, but for now, we're just gonna do a Zdepth pass. Okay, so go ahead and turn on the Zdepth and click Add. Okay, and from here, if you click the arrow, it will take you to the setting. So make sure you press Ctrl A. Okay, click again, Ctrl A, right, until you get this setting. Okay, so it's under Attribute Editor. Now, from here, if you do a batch render, okay, then you need to set this to TIFF. Okay, so you can set that to PNG or whatever, right? At this case, I'm probably gonna set this to TIFF. Now, you're gonna need to set few things, right? So if I set this to the Z as my depth mode, it will not work. Okay, so you make sure you change this to Z, normalize and invert. Now, I'm gonna do a test render just to see what it would look like. Okay, so when I render, make sure I switch that to Z. Now, as you can see, right, everything is white. Okay, that's because you have this thing on currently. Okay, so what it means, like, it will look at your camera setting, right? So it will discharge this value. Okay, so what I mean when this thing on is that they will look at your camera 1, right? So let's look at camera 1 setting, right? And camera 1, and they will look at this value. Okay, so we don't want the setting to look at this value, so we need to go back to the Z AOV and remove that, okay, or untick. Now, again, if you render, you see nothing different, okay? That's because currently, like, everything's set to 0 and 10,000. Okay, so we need to make adjustment to this value. Now, before we do some adjustment, there are one thing that I want to show you. So you need to go to the display, head-up display, and object detail. So once you have this thing on, you're gonna have this information on the top right. Okay, so what it does is it will calculate the object that you selected, right, and it will count its distance from the camera, basically. So right now, this Papa Smurf head is about 51 point something Maya unit. Okay, and this Smurf on the left is about 20 Maya unit, and so on, and so on, and so on. Okay, so if I go back to my perspective, and this is my camera 1, so basically what that value does, it tells you like this Papa Smurf is about 51, right? And here is about 20, I think. and 0 it's somewhere there. Okay, and 150 it's probably around somewhere there. Okay, so from this to there is about 150 Maya unit. Okay, so if I zoom back a little bit and I draw picture again, so this is 0, this is 51, so and 150 is probably somewhere there. Okay, so this is the value that we're going to be putting in that minimal and maximal depth. Okay, so let's go back to camera 1, render setting, the depth. Okay, so again we're going to put this 0 and 150. Okay, now we know that Papa Smurf is about 51, right? But why don't we put that 51 here? Okay, so that value we're gonna put that in a different settings. Okay, so what this value does, basically it will take a coverage, right, from 0 all the way to 150, and they will make the necessary black and white or gradient for the Z depth. Okay, so this 51, right? So this 51, we're gonna put that in a different setting. Okay, not here, but this is just something that we need to know for now. Okay, so let's go back to camera 1. Again, if you put a previous value, right, it will just be white. Now I'm gonna do another render. Okay, so if you put the value correctly, you're gonna get something like this, sort of like a gradient. Okay, now if I save this picture, right, so let's go to my beauty. Right, I want to save this as my master layer, maybe the TIFF, right, master layer. I'm going to go to my Z and save as Z depth, right, and I'm going to open that file in Photoshop. Okay, so I'm going to copy, select everything, copy, and I go to my channel, make new layer, and I paste it. Go back to the RGB, right, and then I go back to my master layer and make sure I change the channel, right, to 8 bits, otherwise it will not work. Okay, don't merge. Go to the filter, blur, and then lens blur. Okay, now you'll notice that if I try my best to kind of like somewhere around here, right, maybe okay, so you need to make some like a guessing value. So I'm gonna press OK, and I get something like that. Now you do notice that the Z depth, right, it's not really accurate, right? So if you want to make this too smooth, blurry, right, you need to go to your Maya setting, right? So let's just leave this as it is. Go to render settings. We go to the output, right, under bokeh lens. We're gonna add the redshift bokeh, right? Got that. Okay, and again, this is why we put that 51 value. Okay, so it's telling Maya to focus on this Papa Smurf. Okay, that's our subject. So we're gonna go to the setting, go to its to RS bokeh 1, and untick this, and you type 51. Okay, so again, if you render, so if you notice, this is very sharp, but if we do another render, things get a little bit blurry. Okay, so this is something that you want, perhaps. Okay, it's very blurry. That's because like the value of your output is very low, so you can increase it to pretty high value. So maybe something like this, and if I do another render, this will become a little bit more cleaner. Okay, so again, this is something that you can try, right? I want to save it again. Maybe I'm gonna Z depth version 2, save as TIFF, right? And I want to open that in Photoshop. I want to open up this version 2, right? And this one I want to undo, so, and I'm going to delete. Okay, so everything is clean. And I'm going back to here. I want to copy, right? Go back to my mask layer, matrix channel, make new alpha, right? Everything's okay, right? And make sure this is set to 8 bits, otherwise that lens blur filter will not work. So you go, okay, everything's good to go, then you go to filter, then lens blur. Okay, so I'm going to increase the radius to about 100, then my value is somewhere around 161, I guess, 160, right? I think 160 is a bit blur, or about 161. Alright, so maybe I have to do a lot of adjustment. Alright, well, 171 is not bad. What about 170? Okay, it's about 172. Let's see. Okay, 172 is not bad, and if I press OK, this is what I get. Okay, and this is the kind of lens blur that I want. Okay, so this is how you do Zdepth passes in Redshift.